Nomads World, Season 4, Episode 9. The Choice of the Village. The village awoke before sunrise. No one had been told why the elders had called everyone together. Yet everyone came. Families left their breakfast unfinished. Hunters laid their bows aside. Builders set down their tools. Children whispered to one another, wondering what was happening. Something important was about to take place. The gathering place slowly filled. Rain stood beside Chip. Daniel found Porky near the back. "You know what's going on?" Porky shook his head. "No." "You?" "Nope." Porky smiled. "Good. I'd hate to be the only one confused." Daniel laughed. "I think half the village is." Near the front, Tim stood quietly beside Cliff. Neither spoke. Tim looked more uncomfortable than nervous. Cliff noticed. "You faced wolves." Tim nodded. "The giant." Another nod. "The flood." Tim smiled. "I know where you're going." And yet, Cliff looked toward the growing crowd. "This makes you nervous." Tim quietly answered, "They're my family. I don't want them thinking I'm above them." Cliff rested a hand on his shoulder. "They won't." When everyone had gathered, the oldest elder stepped forward. His voice carried across the silent village. "For many seasons, our people survived because every family carried part of the burden." Heads nodded throughout the crowd. "We hunted together. We built together. We mourned together. And because we stood together, we are still here." The elder paused. "But our village is no longer the village our grandparents knew." He slowly turned, looking over the new bridges, the growing homes, the crowded walkways, the children who had never known the old hardships. "We have become something larger." Another elder stepped forward. "And with growth comes responsibility." He looked toward Tim. "There have been wolves. A giant walked among us. The flood. Hard seasons. Hard decisions." Each memory settled quietly over the crowd. In every one of those moments, one man carried burdens he never asked to carry. The villagers slowly turned, looking toward Tim. Tim lowered his eyes. He clearly wished everyone would stop looking at him. The oldest elder continued. "He never demanded authority. He never sought recognition. He simply served." Silence filled the branches. "Leadership is not something taken. It is something earned." The elder turned toward Tim. "Tim, will you come forward?" Tim hesitated, only for a moment, then quietly walked to the front. He stood before the entire village, not proudly, not triumphantly, simply, humbly. The elder faced him. "For many seasons, you have carried responsibility without asking for reward." The elder looked back toward the villagers. "If there is anyone here who believes another should carry this responsibility instead, speak now." Silence filled the gathering place. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves overhead. Somewhere beyond the village, a bird called from the forest. No one spoke. No one moved. Even the children remained still. The silence itself became the answer. And then, one hunter stepped forward. "I've disagreed with Tim." Several villagers smiled. "So have I." The hunter continued. "But every time, he cared more about protecting us than proving himself right." He stepped back. A gatherer spoke next. "My family is alive because of decisions Tim made." She looked around. "I trust him." An elderly woman slowly stood. "My grandchildren have never known the fear I knew." She smiled through tears. "That's because of him." More voices followed, one after another, not speeches, simple truths. He listens. He works harder than anyone. He never eats until everyone else has. He carries more than his share. He treats every family like his own. Daniel smiled proudly. Porky quietly whispered, "I didn't know everybody noticed." Daniel answered, "They notice everything." Rain looked toward Chip. Chip smiled. "I want to be like him someday." Rain nodded. "So do I." When the final voice had spoken, the oldest elder turned once more toward Tim. "The village has spoken." He carefully removed an old woven cord from around his own shoulders. It had belonged to generations before him. Simple, unadorned, no jewels, no ornaments, only years of faithful service woven into its fibers. He held it carefully in both hands before stepping toward Tim. "This is not a crown. It is not power. It is responsibility." He gently placed it over Tim's shoulders. "From this day forward, you will serve this village." As its first chief, no cheers erupted, no drums sounded. Instead, every villager quietly placed a hand over their heart, a gesture of trust, a gesture of respect, a gesture of unity. Tim looked across the people he loved. His voice was barely above a whisper. "I don't promise to always be right." Several villagers smiled. "But I promise you will never carry tomorrow's burdens alone." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, Porky stepped forward. He smiled at Tim. "Chief?" Tim looked at him. Porky grinned. "I guess that means you still owe me for carrying all those beams." The entire village burst into laughter. Even the elders. Tim laughed harder than anyone. "I had a feeling you'd say that." As the laughter slowly faded, the tension disappeared. Nothing had changed, and yet everything had changed. The village no longer simply had respected elders. It had its first chief, and somehow he still felt like Tim. The villagers gathered around one another beneath the ancient trees, not because one man stood above them, but because one man stood among them. If you're enjoying the journey, like, subscribe, and share. Welcome to RC Best, where stories and ideas come alive. Don't miss the next chapter. Every episode reveals another piece of the world.